And I love your questions. You are very thoughtful, and thank you very much.
Your generation, you're scared of saying the wrong thing. When did offending someone become the preeminent cardinal sin?
Maybe it's around the same time your generation started making sweeping generalizations about ours.
Whatever shame you have around self-expression, it is bullshit.
Bullshit.
One of the most important ideas in this film is how we blur the line between justice and vengeance. And when justice fails, vengeance can start to feel fair, you know? So how did you approach like separating those two concepts in the story while still letting them blur through the characters that are very complex characters?
Wow, great question. The movie is set in the theater of this Ivy League university that is Yale, and in the greater set of New Haven. And I think that there is a sort of like societal ruling that determines how lives of these people behave. And they are putting their official facades to be part of the game of, let's say, world of high education. And then there is all the contradictions they carry with themselves. And then there is all the kind of aim for believing that their own truth is the most important truth. And the clash that ensue within the world of different truths, it's interesting. I don't know if it's about justice and vengeance, but it's more about the society at large and then the individuals that are in part of the theater of society, and how the complication of individual perspectives and the impossibility of coming to terms with the other and the need for power that every one of these characters exerts, probably except for Frederick, even though Frederick wants, in a way, to have the power of being loved by his wife. I think all of that makes, more than vengeance, maybe makes a sort of like outcome for complications and an outcome for conflict. And then after all of this, will there be the possibility of talking to one another and finally listening to one another? That's what the movie's about.
I think Hank is a very interesting character because he says that he's guilty by association. And I think that's very fascinating, especially because, I don't know, men have historically controlled the narrative of power and justice and created all the systems. And I think that if he really believes that, it means that before this like paradigm shift, men weren't guilty by association. So do you see a contradiction in the way that he tries to defend himself?
I think every character in this movie contradicts themselves.
Okay.
Big time. I think all of them are flowed by the idea of self they put outside into the world and the nature of their own identities the way they are. And this is the beauty of it, because it shows the fragility of our self-expression and how we want to be seen in the world.
There's a powerful moment between Alma and Maggie where they say, like, paraphrasing, that something hard to hear is even hard to say, you know, like when Alma says like, oh, it's hard to hear that you were abused. And Maggie says, well, it's harder for me to say it and to express it. So as a director dealing with studios, actors, and an entire production team, what's the hardest thing for you to say that can be hard for your team to hear?
I don't want to be kind of like simplifying the situation. And I love your questions. You are very thoughtful, and thank you very much. To be honest, I've been doing this job for like more than 25 years now. I have amazing film crews. I have people around me that inspire me and motivate me to make movies every day. It's not a secret that I work with some of the most amazing actors in the world, which is a privilege. And I have been making films that I believe into deeply, and I've been in total control of my work, which means that I've been able to have healthy, beautifully respectful, empowering conversations with the studio that I work with. So I think that, like, I don't get to be in a place where I have to say something that is not going to be welcome, because we live and play in a world of trust and really profound exchange. And And I really mean it, honestly. Like, I might have been in the past when I was much younger, seeing myself in a place where I had to be like in my kind of like fight against the world. And I think it never works. What it works is to listen to the other so that the other listens to you. And now in my, let's say, artistic path in life, I feel that I have the privilege of talking and listening to people that I admire and to be listened by them.
I love how your films always have such like thoughtful interiors. And Alma and Frederick's apartment says so much about them as a couple, while Alma's like cheap place tells a whole different story about her. So since you also run an interior architecture studio, what's your process for designing living spaces on film?
First of all, my secret weapon is working with this brilliant young man who is Stefano Baisi, my production designer, who is one of the most talented people I have the privilege of working with, who's so smart and so articulated and feverish in his quest for representation in space. And he was working with me in my interior design studio before as an architect. And I love that you put in comparison the sprawling penthouse where Frederick and Alma live, and that in a way signifies the entirety of their biographies and the way in which they have been basically holding power in the campus. And then the downtown, by the river, by the water, small dingy place where she goes to elaborate her thoughts. And that's really kudos to Stefano being so smart and so articulated in that kind of language. I love the idea that cinema, interior design, photography, many of the things that I do that are in a way not necessarily linked to one another, complement one another in that I can have the privilege of dealing with craftsmanship and at the same time to bring to life in reality ideas.